You ready, Tom?
I am. I'm ready.
All right. You don't seem ready.
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. Know your ears do not deceive you. It is I, Stephen W. Burns, hosting this week because Miller can't because he's got loads to do, like loads.
Like 3 embargoes dropped today or something, didn't they?
They did. And we'll talk about those games, or at least some of them. And Jim is still dead. So,
still dead. Hopefully resurrected soon.
Yes, to any of you saying lovely words about Jim, to Jim, he'll get better, we think, but we're not going to see him for a little while. He's having a big rest, but he'll be back. So, without further ado about Jim's various ailments, including being Welsh, let's talk about the big games.
Did you introduce us? I wasn't listening.
They know who you are. Sorry, if
I'm
you never listened
Tom
to this...
Orry, and that's
Yes,
Alice
we've got
Bell.
Tom Orry and
Hello.
Alice Bell, and I'm
Hello.
looking at them in opposite ways. It's like in Splatterhouse 2 where you have opposite modes when you get hit, but don't worry about it. Right, Dark Souls 3 then. Let's talk about that.
That's
Let's
the big
do it.
one.
That's
isn't
the big
it?
one.
The big daddy.
I might as well go back to my tweets.
Yeah.
Oh,
So hold on. Let's get this out of the way. Tom's had some tweets. He said some tweets and they've got some good traction. What was it, Tom? Explain yourself before we go on.
Well, I wasn't looking at the good tweet. I was looking at the tweet I did to annoy people.
no.
Well, that's
not
no
as fun.
negativity on the
did-
Burns
I
I did a
cast.
tweet about the Xbox. Well, we'll talk about that later when we bring up the Xbox.
Okay, fine.
Right. Okay.
So anyway,
fine.
all right, Dark Souls 3, we can talk about that.
Okay, so Tom will just pop in and out, it seems.
I'll ask random questions.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, Dark Souls 3, I played it. I went to Hamburg.
You went on a press trip to a church.
Yeah, it was, I wouldn't say it was a disaster or anything approaching that, but I was very hungry for a lot of it, thanks to various plane delays. So we went to this church in Hamburg, and outside there are big fire things going on and a big picture of an undead knight.
Did they have someone spinning fire like with lightning sticks?
No.
No. Okay.
No, they didn't. They didn't have that, but they did have. They did just have fire outside. It wasn't. It was controlled. I should probably say it was controlled. And yeah, can you imagine if you were like part of that parish? I was saying this to Alice, you'd walk past and be like, "Whoa, whoa!"
But it wasn't like a like I said disused before, a deconsecrated.
discontinued.
Yeah,
No. I don't know.
It was still an active church.
It looked in
like-
pretty good nick. It wasn't very run down.
Yeah, but like there's a church in my hometown that isn't a church anymore, and they just have bake sales in there like every weekend. And that.
This one did have a cocktail bar in it. Maybe that should have.
yeah,
I wasn't sure
it's a
whether they
clue.
brought the cocktail bar in because they brought the food in. They very definitely did that.
There's a game called Vampire the Masquerade. I want to say Redemptions, might be Bloodlines, but like where there's a church that has a club in it.
There's a
There you
church,
go.
a former church in Bournemouth that's now called V or something. And I went there once and it was pretty bad. But anyway, so I went there to play Dark Souls 3. And I did play Dark Souls 3 for 4 hours. And yeah, if you've seen any of the coverage, you'll know that we thought it was okay.
I read that it was 3 hours. Is
3
it Definitely
hours?
4 hours.
Yeah, you said 3 and a bit in your written
I'm-
preview.
All
I
right.
don't want to get called up on this later.
Well, I reckon that if we just combine my memory with it, with the stuff I've played before, it's actually close to about 6 or 7
Right.
hours.
Well, there you
So, no one had a stopwatch there. So if anyone...
you played it more than anyone else has, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone in the world.
Anyway, the
And
entire world.
yeah, I thought it was okay. In fact, I enjoyed quite a lot of it, but we talked about it a bit before. I thought it was a bit of a mega mix, a greatest hits. Bloodborne obviously came out not so long ago, Dark Souls 2 before that, and it was difficult not to go back and think, is this Miyazaki's The Dark Knight Rises? Is it where he goes, I'm going to have to make this one, and it'll be all right, but what the fuck am I going to do?
So officially, he's behind all of this game.
Well, he was
Or
on
is he?
stage talking about the core concepts of the game, and so he is a creative force
Because
behind
Dark Souls
it.
2,
Yeah,
how involved was he in Dark Souls 2?
He didn't direct that one.
exactly.
I think
Because
he was
he
a
was doing
producer,
Bloodborne.
wasn't he?
He was off.
Producer?
He was off doing his
he was
own
doing
stuff.
Bloodborne, yeah. But this is pure speculation. But didn't you say like someone said that maybe he wasn't director for all? of it?
Yeah, but that was a nefarious games journalist. They were sitting next to me, and they were like, "Did he do all of this? Because the timescales are pretty tight, and we don't know exactly what his input was in the early stages." He is the president of From Software, so you think that he probably had some oversight. But yeah, if you've seen any of the footage, it does feel a bit like, yeah, I've been here before. Oh, it's Firelink Shrine. It's a different one. Oh, but it's got that guy again. And I mean, Alice, you play Souls games. You've seen the footage now. What do you think?
I do get what you mean. I haven't played them as much as you, so I wouldn't be able to offer as detailed an opinion on it. But I do see exactly what you mean. I would say that because I'm doing a lot of sort of research into Dark Souls 3 at the moment, and I'm keeping up with everything that's coming out, just so I'm fired up and ready to do guides and that. It does seem like they are still working on it. Like, a lot has changed from the footage that's come out of this preview.
Mm-hmm.
A lot has changed between that and like the most recent stuff before that, from the stress tests and stuff. So there's a lot of change with like the character builds and starting weapons and all.
They're
that
tweaking
kind of stuff.
it, but they do that all the way, don't
yeah,
they?
so it could, like, because there's still like a month.
Yeah, well, it's out this month in
Japan, isn't it?
But
so
towards the very end of the month.
Yeah, so there's a few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if there are more changes.
Yeah, it I don't know. It wasn't broken or anything, the build that I played, but I wouldn't have had it pegged as coming out this soon. But maybe that's just because it should be like a big thing. With Bloodborne, there was a real big, anticipation building. And now, for Dark Souls 3 at least, I don't have that hype yet. And yeah, let's say a month away. In a couple of weeks' time, it might feel different. But I just don't feel it. And a lot of the guys I was speaking to there, they were like, yeah, maybe I'm a little bit less hyped than I was before I saw it. And that's never really a good place to be in. Tom, I know you're going to love this game, aren't you? You're going to play Dark Souls.
I was just... Do you know exactly what I was thinking?
Go on.
Did you press record?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Would you like to come and have a little
No,
look?
that's fine.
Look,
I just had a moment of panic and I thought, oh my God, what if he didn't press record?
What if I press unrecord now?
That's
is
probably
that
bad.
Unrecord.
Don't press unrecord. Buns, do you think... Because you're not super excited about this, but you obviously are... You are keen to play more of it.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd done Dark Souls,
Mm-hmm.
the first Dark Souls, remastered properly, would you have been more excited about that than playing what you've seen so far of 3?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. They aren't you getting a free copy of Dark Souls with Dark Souls?
Yeah,
3
on Xbox.
on
you
Xbox.
get
Yeah,
backwards
if you did a
compatible
pre-order.
one, yeah.
So
But that's just the original as it was, so you don't get any enhancements or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready for more Dark Souls because I skipped 2, like a lot of people I think did. A lot of more of the casual players. Now I really like it. I played it a lot, but I'm not hardcore enough to go, okay, Miyazaki's not making this one. I'll plow through it anyway. So no, I want to see what he's doing with this one. But yeah, I don't know. It seems, again, I said in the videos, I don't want to sound really down on it because it was good. It was just very familiar. And games journalists are all treacherous swine. Many of them were saying that at the event, and I presumed that when their pieces went live, they'd be like, "Oh, well, that's actually brilliant." But they didn't. Can you believe this? They actually said what they thought, which is shocking, really, to me. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be one of those Steve Burns opinions that people think I just make up to make people angry. So yeah.
I remain cautiously optimistic that that you guys saw was kind of some of the early levels and the early stages and stuff, so that maybe because it's set in the world that you've seen before, that further on as you progress in the game it will open up and become more new and exciting.
I hope so as well. And they also raised the starting stats for some of the characters, and I'm not sure if they tweaked some of they said they tweaked the difficulty. They raised some of the starting stats, and I'm not sure if they kind of increased health for the player and decreased it for the enemies, but it seemed very easy. Now, I'm sure there's a video of me dying a lot. People going, "Oh, was it that easy, Burns? Was it?" But it felt like you could run through the game a lot more. And someone who I can't remember, I'm sorry, but they were saying this, is that the game feels a little bit like, in Dark Souls, when you started the original game, you kind of had many different directions to run off in. So you could go down to the crypt, or you could go up to the Undead Burg, and you could basically the game just went, go on then. Whereas it feels not linear per se, but the game does go, off you go down this way until you meet, like the first kind of boss. And then off you go. And they do that in a lot of the Souls games.
I don't like Bloodborne. I think it channels you a bit more like.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It feels a bit more like Bloodborne in that regard than the original Dark Souls. I can't speak for the second one. So yeah, I'm hopeful that after you get past that, there will be areas which we haven't really seen before, not just remixes of old areas. And a lot of people are moaning that they are just reusing assets quite blatantly. I think that's true. We did a video where we compared Hemwick Charnel Lane to the Undead Settlement, which we saw, and it was like, yeah, shit. There are some places where it does look a bit copy-paste. But, I don't know. Well, it's going to be out in a month. Review build's going to be in soon.
Yeah.
What frame rate does it run at?
Well, some people on NeoGAF, because a lot of the continental European press...
It's important, isn't it, for this game?
It is important
Oh,
for this
it's
game.
locked, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've said it's locked.
Well, there were a few frame drops, and it didn't impact me. I thought that's fine, but some people are very upset.
Because Bloodborne wasn't...
Oh, man, when
smooth, was
Bloodborne first came out, it was choppy as fuck, basically. It was...
And everyone just forgave it, really.
Yeah.
But there were, because they've locked it at 30? I'm going to say 30.
Have they? I don't know.
But
I should know. I did play it for maybe upwards of 14 hours.
Well, they
basically
said it's locked at a low, like a console frame rate for PC as well to ensure that it's always a smooth.
That's going to go down badly.
That's going to get fixed within seconds. Didn't Dark Souls on Games for Windows Live have that? And someone just went, no.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they said, and it's the reason is stated as so it maintains a smooth frame rate throughout.
Shite. That's such a bad answer. I think people are savvy enough that if you just said, listen, gave the reason, I don't want to put words in their mouth, they'd be like, okay, fine. Well, you wouldn't say okay, fine, but like, well, that's better than what's that old cinematic bullshit that Assassin's Creed called out? Yeah, it's more cinematic to have a very low frame rate. What are you talking about? But that's Dark Souls 3.
Does it have pigs in it?
It has, I think it does actually, and it has big
That's
rats.
as far as I got. I'm not sure if it's Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2, where there was like a wild pig thing with armor that charged out of like a gate or something. Is that the first one or the second one?
That's the first one.
That's as far as I got in that game.
Yeah.
Which I imagine is probably 95% through.
Yeah, there was 95% through the Tom Ori version.
Yeah. You missed the pig in your Bloodborne playthrough as well.
We might have seen it, but we just ignored it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a big pig in
Miller, for those who don't know, Miller and Tom Ori here are doing a live stream playthrough of Bloodborne, and it's a thing to behold.
Every Thursday,
it's very good. Every Thursday,
3
about 3 for a couple of hours they play.
UK time.
It is amazing, and it's
just
like Rocky.
It's amazing. It's like Tom going heel triangle, press triangle, dodge, and Miller going, I can't.
Yeah, until he does it.
Until he does,
like a child.
He's somehow really good at it, but also hates it. And loads of people that watch it are furious that he hates Bloodborne, but is better at it than they are.
How many tries did it take him to beat Gascoigne?
It took like 4 goes to beat Gascoigne.
I'm sure it took me more than that. And I love Souls games, but yeah, if you haven't seen that, check it out. It was amazing. The thing is, with the next one, though, are we going to hit a bit of a natural lull? Because the opening of that game is very full-on. You have the Cleric Beast and then Gascoigne. And now he's going to have to go and actually do some work. So you have to do some grinding now.
Well, if you can tweet me at VGTomo, follow me first, probably. And then...
no tweets without follow. Yes, come on.
I won't read them otherwise. Then just suggest what we might be a good idea to do in the next episode. Because
it's starting to open out now.
We need some structure, I think, rather than just going, we'll just wander around because we will never do anything.
I missed the end of it. Where did you... I know you beat Gascoigne.
It was beautiful. They killed Gascoigne. So the first 2 episodes of the stream have had a beautiful pacing to them because they end on killing the boss.
Nice. So you're going to go into kind of Cathedral Ward sort of area. You'll get in and around there. So, yeah, you've actually got choices of quite a few optional areas.
Choices aren't good for us, I don't think.
No. Tom was last time Tom started and was like, right, I've got a to-do list. Yeah. So it says here, level up, and then he crossed it off and was like, right, done that. And then he was like, right, it says kill Father Gascoigne. Yeah.
That's all it says. It's 2 things.
That's it, yeah.
And then they did it, and he was like, right, cross that off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, follow and tweet at VGTomo to let him know what you think you should be doing. Speaking of what people should be doing, are we in agreement about Microsoft's new plans for their Universal Windows platform? So if you missed this, Phil Spencer has announced that, he didn't say it in so many words, but basically the Windows platform, Xbox, as part of that, is going to have incremental upgrades. So he didn't come out and just saying, you're going to get a new Xbox 5S. But, along that sort of those lines.
It sounds like what he's suggesting is that They didn't say time frame or anything. He said a generation, being quite vague about when it might happen. But for example, we could get a new Xbox One that was more powerful than the current Xbox, but people with the old Xbox One could still play everything. But the people with the new one would get better frame rates, resolution, whatever. And maybe, I don't know, I guess that they might do that once or twice a generation kind of thing. So maybe every couple, 2 or 3 years, you get a new box that you could buy or not, rather than going, here's a new graphics card that you can plug in, which I think is a bad idea.
Yeah,
no one would actually.
I don't think anyone wants it to be truly modular like that, do they? Because then you really split it. But if you have, like, with the iPhone or whatever, with Windows Phone, like different devices which will run the same ecosystem, then you can build back and forward. That's what one of his things was. Forwards and backwards compatibility. 2 of the games that brought up was Quake and Doom, I believe. And he's saying, Phil Spencer was saying, I remember being able to play, I can play Doom and Quake on my PC, but I don't need to lose the heritage of gaming by, upgrading or not. So, yeah, I get what he's saying. Like, you want all your games in, not necessarily just in one place, but you can move them across. So as a service, rather than just, here is my new fancy Xbox, and then in 5 or 7 years' time, it'll be...
Yeah, it sounds a bit mad, and everyone's like, no way that's going to work. But I kind of like the idea. Like, certainly it would solve the problem of, particularly now, you look at a console like an Xbox One compared to a good PC, and there's a big gap. And then they could bridge that slightly by having, like, every 3 years, make it, like, give it a refresh. It does make sense. And as long as they keep it so that, say you bought the previous one, you're going to get support beyond the release of the next model.
Yeah.
They'd have to have rules, obviously, so that games run across both, that kind of thing. But I think I'd like it. I'm not sure how much I'd be willing to spend every time, but you'd have the option.
I think that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't... I don't know what the price would be, but there'd definitely be a limit where I'd be like, nah, it's not worth it. Because the reason I have consoles now, I used to have a gaming PC, and I stopped gaming on PC because it's too hard to keep up with it. And so I'm not, I have consoles because I'm not that arsed about having everything look as crisp as it possibly can. I just want to be able to put a game in the thing and play the game with minimum effort.
I don't think it's going to be, as you said, it won't be modular, or we don't think it is. You won't be like, now here's the Xbox RAM upgrade.
I think it'd be madness on their part, because that would open up so many different possibilities of variations on hardware. They'd have to keep it so that there was only a couple of revisions in the wild each time, I guess. Yeah,
so let's say if they just halved the cycle. Let's say, I think the number given by Spencer was 7 years. So let's say every 3.5 years you get a new box, or say maybe 2, whatever. Keep it in line with phones. So, and you just go, okay, and you up. So it'll obviously be internet connected. You just put everything into the cloud, and then off you get rid of your old machine, and then bang. So exactly like you do with your iPhone, you just throw the other one in a bin or out the window or whatever, and then you just download it all again, and off you go.
Essentially, like, refresh your existing library in a way. Like, as an example, I remember Quake. I remember getting Quake running on my old PC a million years ago. And it ran just about. It was okay, running in software mode. And then get a good upgrade, then run GL Quake.
Lovely.
Like, wow, look at this. You're probably too young for this, Alice.
Yeah, Alice.
This was when PCs used to be sold without anything that would really render 3D graphics. So they introduced 3D graphics cards that you plugged in, so you could run 3D games with, and they looked decent for once. And one of those, not the early things to use that, was Quake, and it made it all look smoother with better lighting effects. You could fire a rocket, and you could see the light follow it down the hallway.
That was really cool.
That kind of thing, you might get that might be the kind of thing you get with these revisions. You might have bought Gears 4, and then you buy the new hardware and you get it running at better frame rates and better lighting effects. Who knows? But the games will still run, and maybe you get a new lease of life out of your existing library, which I think is quite cool if that is what they would do.
I think if it works, a game that's a really good example of new hardware giving it a refresh is Hitman Absolution, of all things. That was a really good-looking game on 360 and PS3, but its PC specs were actually off the chart. To run everything at maximum at the time, you needed Crossfire, SLI, all of that. And so I played Hitman the other day. I got this really good PC, got 4K telly I'm using as a monitor. I flicked it on and I'm like, fuck me, like some of this looks better than the new one. And so I think you're absolutely right. You'll get a bit more mileage out of the older games, because that's one of the joys of PC gaming. Yeah. I remember when I got Far Cry, got the original, that came out, got that Dave release. I was playing it on my, what did I have, like a GeForce 9200 or some shite. And it wasn't running it. So off I went and I was Radeon 9200. Went out, got a GeForce 6800, which at the time was, one of the best you could buy. And the difference, it may as well have just been a completely different game in my mind, at least. But it did look miles better. So if they're going to do that, I don't really see a problem. I know they've been getting... Well, some people think they've been doing actually better than a lot of people think in terms of sales, but they have been getting hammered by PlayStation. And some of the quotes where they're talking about stuff like the focus on monthly active users instead of just console sales. They've been very big in this statement that was given about talking about to advertisers and whoever. It's like, here's how many people are on the platform, not here's who bought it and then never used it. I bought it, and fair play to them. I bought a Wii once. Everyone did. And then I moved to Bournemouth, and this was years ago, and I hadn't finished unpacking, and I was like, what's in that bag? And I'd been there for a year, and I was like, what is in this bag? And it was like, oh, it's a Wii. Right. Yeah, no, there's a point there. I think... Was it you claim you've been talking about this for years, Tom? But I thought it was Dave that had been saying this was a good idea.
I've been talking to Dave about it for ages.
Oh, right.
There you go. It comes out.
Dave, I can't remember who was the one that first said it should happen or not. I mean, I
bet it was Dave. Dave's the one that cares about frame rates and shit.
Dave was possibly like, it probably won't happen kind of view. I mean, it's not guaranteed to happen now. They're just, I guess, possibly they've said this to see what the reaction might be. But I think it's a reasonable option. Like, as long as you can still buy a console and know that you're going to get support for like at least the same amount of time as you would have done like with a normal console this generation or last generation. So you still get the 6 years or whatever you might think you're going to get.
But you'll still get that anyway. I think I've not upgraded my phone from a 5S, and I can still run some of the games, and I still think I'm not thinking, oh no, I can't run Angry Birds 800 at whatever. So I think
Microsoft released Rise of the Tomb Raider on the Xbox 360. That's they have a history of actually supporting stuff. Like, I don't see why they didn't need to do that by any means. But that's a 10-year-old console that got a brand new game.
What's the price point though? This is mad speculation in the future now, but obviously phones are offset by contracts.
Yeah.
So that's easy for you to kind of pay monthly.
It would have to be expensive because they'd be selling the cheaper model, which is like the last version, and the new one. So I imagine they'll still go for like $350 to $400 each time.
No, that's too much. That's too much for me, man.
You don't have to buy that. You've got the other one.
Yeah, but who is going to buy it?
Well, it's the same. You don't lose out because say you bought a console at launch, that's the same price as consoles are. $350. Maybe they could get to $300. Who knows? But
but then then like the first model would be cheaper. So if you haven't got an Xbox One and the new one thing comes out, and the older one drops down in price, then you're going to buy the older one, surely, because it'll still... You
have the option. But then people that like Dave and me probably might think every 3 years isn't that bad to buy a new console and to get like the better performance, better resolution. It
is true that console life, like the generation lifespan, is much longer than it used to be, isn't it? Like the life cycles are really long now, which is one of the reasons the game fucking nearly went under, and it's probably going to go under again because they didn't they kind of rely as a retailer on new generations of consoles coming out, and then everyone will buy them, and then they're sort of all right for a year or so.
I think the 360 just had this incredible lifespan. I think that's a bit of an outlier in a lot of ways, especially when you consider that with the original Xbox, Microsoft literally dumped it, and with the Mega Drive. Didn't the Mega Drive come out in 1989? Like before the fall of the Soviet Union. And that, kept on going until 1994. So, but I know, I think you're right in a lot of ways. Like, how long are these things going to hold on for, and how many people are they going to drag under without new and improved machines and people spending money on them? So from Microsoft's perspective, it makes sense. I just don't know how they're going to sell that model. Because when you buy a phone, for example, you get all of the other features of the phone, and a lot of that is to do with not just app functionality, but the camera. So Apple really big on selling the iPhone on, was it 3D Touch? And that stuff's really, really cool. And so you get this all-in-one package, so it's not just games. But then people buy that shit anyway, just because, like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of bumps in the road for them to kind of try and figure out.
There's no guarantee that this isn't even going to happen. It's just it's kind of something Phil Spencer has said that we assume they're obviously thinking about because they've said it, but we have no idea what the actual like details are beyond a kind of loose statement at the moment.
Yeah. All right. Well, things that are definitely happening is apparently. I said definitely, then apparently. Well, you never trust anyone. That's my motto.
It's plausible deniability. We've got to put disclaimers out there, and then if anyone complains in the comments, we can be like, well, we clarified it. So.
Go back and listen to it. All right, here's things that definitely were said. The HTC Vive has sold out its initial allocation of more than, 15,000 units in less than 10 minutes. So that seems good when you put it that way. You're like, people want these things, but of course 15,000 units isn't that many for consumer electronics. So what are our thoughts on not the sales, because people buy any old shit. People bought the Jaguar with 3DO. But on their tech and on their kind of room size tech as well.
It looks interesting. It looks like more how I would want VR to work than Oculus, because it has like more than just the head tracking stuff. There's more like involvement, but it seems even more than Oculus like a very niche product that is going to take a long time to come into like the mainstream. Like people getting excited about 15,000 units is, like you said, doesn't mean anything really. Like new cool tech will always probably sell out. Like people were excited about the Ouya at one point, weren't they?
Were they?
They were.
And that, we know how that ended.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any guarantee that just because it's done well at the launch period means it's going to do well. But I hope VR does something, because it is new and exciting, and I'm keen to give it a proper go. But there's a long way to go before that becomes something that everyone is going to want to get in their house.
Yeah, I mean, Alice, are you thinking about
ever
getting...
Loads of people are being like, oh, this is the future of entertainment and stuff. I don't think it is, really. But then I'm not excited about it, but I haven't played anything in VR either. I have not road tested a VR headset at all. So maybe if I do, I'll be like, this is fucking amazing. But at the moment,
it's cool.
Not
but didn't
about
change. I did Oculus, played Elite on Oculus and Valkyrie. They're the perfect games for it, because your body doesn't need to move because it's in the craft, obviously. And you're like, you can look behind you and you can, those are my legs. And then you realise they're not your legs because they're offset from where your legs should actually be. But the price is high, but then it's early adopter stuff, really. Like they're just seeing how they can price it and how much they can get away with, which at early adopter stage seems to be all of it. But also the PC specs need to be high. You need...
Like really high.
Really high, yeah.
I mean, I'm covered. That's what I'm going to say. But not for long, probably.
Yeah.
And then there's the space that you need in your house, in your games room if you have one, or probably the front room. And is your other half or your parents or your children really going to like you sitting in your virtual world?
Everyone, like lots of people have said that it's not... Like it's quite a social thing if you play it with other people, but it's very
like anything, right?
It's very antisocial for people that are around you in the same house.
Yeah. Like
so,
and it's odd looking fundamentally.
I played the Division beta at the weekend, and my husband got bored, and I had to stop because he was about to throw a tantrum. Because my husband's an infant, but he was just like, that was just like, and I was playing it with headset on, so he was like, that was like listening to someone like one half of a phone call. So like sitting playing VR,
that is annoying though. Listening to one half of a phone call is the worst thing.
But like sitting playing VR, like we don't like it's a small flat. There aren't many rooms you can go away separate to. You know what I mean? Like just watching someone in the headset being like, this is amazing.
No,
and,
you can't play.
Waving their arms around, like
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've got the space and I've got the PC to do it, but I'm just not tempted at all. Really, I don't. And again, it comes down to the apps. And Tom, you and I were talking earlier about how I don't feel that games are necessarily that VR killer app. I think there's got to be something that, when people think games, they think they're very involved and not very intuitive for a lot of people who haven't played games. Yes, you are using your arms as an input, or your body, or your head and everything, but still, you still have to get over that hump. I feel like, where if you could have something that was more like sport, that you could watch sport on it, and I don't know how you can do that. Okay, but it needs to be something that's a bit more all-encompassing than just this time you can shoot people with your own hands. That feels a bit too much of a stretch for it to have the mass adoption it wants.
The stuff that interests me more about is it Adrift?
Yeah,
the space one.
Yeah,
those are the sort of things.
Which looks
the
really
games,
cool.
Yeah, the games that would interest me with that. But then those are the sort of games also where I would naturally, I think, want to move while doing it.
Yeah.
And I think moving while I was in VR.
So you want zero gravity? Come on. Come on. How much do you think it's going to cost?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is probably the reason why it's taken so long for it to get to this state. Because, as we know, virtual reality's been knocking around for years and years. I remember being at Butlins once and seeing those big, the huge ones where you stood in the middle of it.
Yeah. My husband, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, VR can fuck off. It could fuck off in the 90s, and it can fuck off now.
Well, yeah. Well, on that note, sorry, Palmer and everyone at HTC, but you've been told that, I don't know, I think it's got a long way to go, but I think with that many, comparatively that many units, we'll start to see people fucking around with it.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So, right. Enough of that chat about hardwares and platforms. More games. Super hot. Tom, you reviewed it and said you made you feel like the coolest man on earth.
I'm not. Did I say that? I said something along those lines.
You said that you're not a cool man, but it made you feel cool.
I think it said it at least made my avatar cool.
No, come on, Tom. Don't undersell the game now.
But it is a very cool game. That is like it's one of its big selling points is that you do a lot of stuff, and when you're playing it, because of the mechanics in that. If people don't know, it's a first-person shooter, but time only moves essentially when you move. Mm-hmm. So if you stand still, like you can see the bullets crawling towards you very, very slowly. You can dodge in and out of them, that kind of thing. But when you're playing, it's very stop-start because you're looking around all the time to see where you should move and like who is the next target kind of thing. So then you watch, like I watched you playing it. I'd never watched anyone else play it before. Because I was just playing it. You don't notice it as much when you're in control. But when you're watching someone else, it looks stuttery and slow and kind of odd.
Yeah, when we streamed it, a lot of people were saying, like, is it broken? And we weren't sure if the frame rate was stuttering.
To be fair, I think the frame rate wasn't great in that stream. But it is a game that, because the way you stop all the time, it has a very odd sense of motion to it.
Yeah.
And then it's only when you watch it back in the replays that you see how cool it all is. Because you don't have this stuff, when it's running at full speed, you appear to be doing things that aren't actually possible. Such as like seeing someone for a split second and shooting them from just as if they're coming behind a pillar or something. You get them as they're running into the bullet, which you could never really do unless you're like a Call of Duty kid or something.
Yeah.
And it has the way that it kind of builds on a lot of sort of scenes from action movies and that kind of thing. There's a lot of moments you think this could just be in a film, essentially. And you get the sense that you're doing some cool stuff even when you're doing it in the slow real-time mode. It's got a kind of simple but reasonably smart campaign with a storyline that ties it all together.
Oh, I hated it.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah, me and Ben hated that bit.
I think it's decent. I didn't expect it to have any. I thought it was literally going to be a load of challenges.
That's how it should have been.
So it has got this. The campaign levels themselves are really good, though.
Yeah,
they're cool.
You can go back to them and play them and do new cool stuff and things. And challenge mode gets unlocked that lets you do other stuff within those levels. And you could complete it in sort of 3 hours or less, probably. It's not a very long game, but then the real meat is trying to do like the challenges and that kind of stuff. And I'm sure lots of people will get really into it and do insane things that I wasn't able to do even when it is running it in slow motion.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about this story and how rubbish it is. And maybe it's because Alice and I kept on swapping controller, just trying to get on with it. I know what you mean. It is one of those games where other people are playing it because it is essentially a puzzle game where you can fire a gun and use a sword. You start thinking, they better not fuck this up again. You know, so it's not a great game for, you know, watching, and it's got a lot of backseat driving in it. Obviously, now Alice and I are professionals, so you know there wasn't too much of that on the stream. But in the comments, I imagine people raging like, "Throw the sword now!" But yeah, I didn't think it needed this story around it. And this is that story of like who's really controlling the game.
Yeah, I think my issue is that that's so done.
It's like,
so done.
Someone tweeted the other day saying, games talking about who's really in control is the equivalent of films going, it was all a dream. And there's a bit where you kind of see yourself or see someone controlling the game with their VR headset on. You're like, right, I've got it now. I
don't know. I don't know how early on the whole concept behind the story was.
It's quite
created.
early, I think.
Because I know, like when it was originally shown, it was literally like they did that 7-day development thing, or it was. Whether or not they had the idea of the story then or not, I don't know.
Well, some people who have played both the early versions and the released version bemoan the fact that it has had all this story and narrative stuff kind of chucked in there. So yeah, maybe I can't say for certain because I didn't play it in the early days, but yeah, it got a lot of hype. You know, it had that, you know, the super hot trailer and all that. Yeah,
hot.
So, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I tweeted the other day saying, you know, in a rare moment of not being an arsehole, just saying you should probably give those people money. You know,
it was really good. I really liked it. It made me feel like, you know, when you're watching like an action sequence in a film and Jason Statham is like kicking the shit out of a guy and then like grabs his gun and shoots some other guy.
Yeah,
like, it made me feel like that because it was like
you can do that kind of thing.
You like you throw like a vase at one guy and then punch another guy in the face and then like grab the gun that the first guy dropped and then shoot a third guy in the corner. And it feels really cool. Yeah,
it did feel like a Hong Kong action movie blocking simulator. You're the stunt in another world. You're the stunt coordinator. No, do this. I said before we started, it reminded me of the PS2 game Stuntman, where it's obviously a lot more forgiving because that was one of the hardest games I've ever played. I think it actually killed a few of the journalists who had to review it at the time. I remember them in magazines going, I hate this game. So yeah, that's super hot.
It's coming to Xbox soon. By the
way.
It's
on PC.
It's on PC now. Xbox One. I thought it was early March, but it may. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. But relatively soon. I'm sure it is this month.
Yeah, it is a game that I would and probably will pay for.
Lots of people saying that you never want to play this on a gamepad. I think
we did. It was fine.
Obviously, you could be with a keyboard and mouse. You could be a little bit more accurate and quicker with your aiming and that kind of thing. But it works fine because
I think that's true of any.
Because of the pace of it, it works fine with the controller.
Yeah, I didn't think there were too many troubles with it. I thought that in the beginning, because you're quite conservative with it when you first start, but then suddenly after a while, you're just running around.
When we first were playing it, I think we were sort of over aiming a little bit,
and overthinking it. Always going for the headshots. You think, I thought you had to just get headshots. You know, I wasn't sure.
Because when we first were playing it, we were playing it like it was a regular shooter. So like going into and out of cover and like getting headshots and stuff. You don't need to. You can just destroy people.
Yeah. So those are some of the big games. What have you guys been playing before we go on to other stuff? What's been happening? Not Football Manager.
Football Manager.
Although actually, you have run into a bit of bother, haven't you?
Yeah, it's got quite dramatic.
Well, it was quite dramatic.
Traumatic.
Yeah, and that. Well, I'd been at Forest for a few years. I'd built.
Never.
I got to the playoffs in my second season.
Right.
Which isn't bad because they're a club in massive financial difficulty.
Yeah.
So they had no money at all. So I built up a team of kids, essentially, sort of 22-year-olds. I think my average age is 24. It wasn't bad.
There you go.
And then I kind of promised the board that I would be promoted the following season because they were like, they wanted. I needed more money essentially. So the only way to get more money was to tell them I'd get automatic qualification to the Premier League. So then halfway through the season, I was in about 11th. Mainly, I think, because I had quite a lot of injuries and I didn't have the depth of squad because I didn't have the money to buy all the players I needed.
So it was their fault.
So I had a lot of kids coming through, but they weren't first team ready yet. So then they said, right, you've got to get 10 points from 5 games. And I said, fine, I'll get 10 points for 5 games. I got 1 point. So I was sacked.
You were out.
So then I spent most of yesterday lunchtime
crying,
just looking for jobs. It is about as fun as it sounds. So it's just looking at the jobs board.
Did you
applying
reach
for jobs.
like that point, like when people play The Sims and they suddenly realise that they're doing their real life in their spare time? Was it like
it was a little bit. I did contemplate whether I should just start again, because when you start these games, you can just pick any team you want. I could have gone and managed Man U if I wanted, but I thought no. I've built a career for myself. I applied for sort of Newcastle. There was a few teams at the bottom of the Premier League that had just fired their manager, so I applied for Newcastle and another team possibly.
That's the boost that the fans really wanted, wasn't it? Though the sacked manager of League One or Championship, sorry.
But I didn't get that. I didn't even get an interview. I got an interview at Aston Villa.
Do you actually have to go through the interview?
Yeah,
phase?
you do.
Amazing.
I'm looking forward to the film based on Tom playing Football Manager.
Then you get asked all these questions. I didn't get the Villa job because they wanted me to commit to playing a game based on set pieces, and I thought this is just nonsense, basing my entire philosophy around set pieces.
But you should have just said yes and then
so
not
I
done
said,
it.
no, that is not what I want to do.
So the basis on which you got the job here, but like, yes, I will do
Exactly.
everything you say.
I was just the cleaner here. And I was like,
And they're now, the guy that took over, I can't remember who it was, they're now like clear at the top of the Championship. They got a ton of money, so I should have really just gone yes.
Yeah, should have gone and then
Anyway,
used their plays.
I've got a job at Derby.
Oh, this is a coup.
Who are pretty much about the same position as Forest are in the Championship. They've got about as little money as they had as well, so it's going to be another good couple of years of grinding out for mid-table results
until finally.
This is an exclusive. This kind of info doesn't usually come out until Saturday on the VG Plays, because you're not normally allowed to talk about your Football Manager career on the podcast because it's boring.
But now it's finally reached a peak. There's something happening here, and now there's going to be a lonely trough.
Yeah, the next few months are going to be really dull because it'd just be me
Amazing.
buying 18-year-olds, hoping they fulfill their potential, and then probably getting fired again.
I hope nobody isolates the audio.
Yeah,
someone will, and they'll think it's hilarious, and it won't
they just loop it. Be a GIF.
Yeah,
there you go, Alice. What have you been playing?
I'm still playing Bloodborne.
Yep.
Okay, I really like it. I really like it.
Really good.
It's really good. Yeah, it's a really good game that I'm bad at, that I hate and love. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. It's good.
It's where are you up to now?
I still haven't killed Father Gascoigne, but
So you just massively over leveled.
Yeah.
Just hulking around in the early stages of the game.
But I nearly did it. Like the other night, I figured out how to
cheese it.
parry. No, I'm doing it properly, and I haven't summoned anyone, so I'm doing it on my own.
Is parrying really hard?
No.
Well, I thought it was.
Because parrying because lots of these kind of games, you have some kind of parry or counter system.
I thought it was,
is it different to other games?
It just runs against your natural instinct to get out of the way.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But that's kind of all games like this have some kind of countering. Like even God of War has like a counter.
Yeah, but
you just time.
It's not very. Well, it depends really. After a while, you start to really get it, and I don't think that you don't need like superhuman reflexes. You don't need to be that good at the game to do it. But what you need is the ability to recognize essentially which frame or part of the animation that whichever enemy you're dealing with is going to be able to be parried. And sometimes you do it out of sheer luck.
Yeah.
And Miller do it like immediately. And but once you've got it down, and depending on which weapon you have in your left hand as well, that all changes. But once it's down, it's the most satisfying thing in the game as well, especially when you're fighting some of the bosses towards the end. Some of them are actually quite easily parried. In the last boss or the penultimate boss, if you're going for the secret ending, I was raging about their lock-on attack on Twitter. People were like, you should just parry him constantly. It's like, if it was that easy, but then after a while you get into the rhythm. And the whole thing about Bloodborne and Souls games is you just have to get into that rhythm, which is why if you play it for too long and you just start sprinting around, you may as well just stop and just go and do something else. And but I think that's why the Bloodborne stream's working so well, is that when Miller calms down and stops shouting, he actually starts to get into
that's why
rhythm.
people are across, because he's good at it, but he still hates the game, and it's like he doesn't deserve to be good at it if he hates it.
I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing.
But I've also been playing The Flame and the Flood, which I really like.
Oh, yeah.
Which is from the Molasses Blood, who are a bunch of It's happening quite a bit. Like AAA
BioShock or something.
Yeah, there's a bunch of devs who worked for like Harmonix and some people who worked on BioShock. It's happening quite a lot where like people who've devved for AAA games leave and then form their own little indie cabal.
Well, for a while it always used to be they made BioShock. I remember kind of early 2010s it was, but they made BioShock,
Yeah.
And so a lot of games kind of got sold on the back of that. But
yeah, it's really good. I very much enjoy it. It's a survival game, kind of like Don't Starve, but you have to keep moving the whole time. So you don't get to build shelter. You don't really get to build safety. You're just on a raft going down a river with a little dog.
Sounds heartwarming, but is in fact quite brutal.
It is really brutal. Yeah, there are a lot of ways that you can die, and a lot of very complex ways you can die. And it's like you can get like a rash, but then that rash will like progress into like an actual infection, and then you'll get like strep, and then you'll die. And then
it's an apocalyptic future, so you're just done.
You just die, or you could get like mauled by animals. There are snakes and bears and
oh my,
yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of apocalyptic futures, let's talk. Let's do some questions, shall we? Now, like Miller, in a bid to emulate him, I've not actually really looked through any of these, so I might do the thing he does, where he goes, I'm not reading that
one. Yeah.
I'm not reading any of these. Right. Okay. So, first question from Bilal SQ1. Can patrons, and that's at Bilal SQ1 as well, can patrons be part of the podcast through Skype? Now, Tom.
Well, when you asked me this earlier, I thought you meant can people in general, and I was going to say no.
I'm
but
not.
Patreons,
sure.
I don't know. The issue we have, because obviously we have a tier on the backers. If you back us, I think it's $50 a month. You can come on the podcast.
I think that it's filled up now, though.
Yeah. So if people drop out, you could fill that and pledge that amount. I don't know. The only issue is obviously sound quality and delay and all that kind of stuff. Like if you listen to podcasts where they have people on that are all over the place, there isn't the same dynamic as you get when people are in the same room, essentially.
Yeah, because they're all doing other stuff.
And there's any bit of lag or delay, and it kind of throws everything off slightly.
And the laptop in here is terrible as well.
Yeah.
I love this thing.
Really?
I love this thing because the little catch which opens at the top looks like one of the starting guns from Halo.
It does.
I mean, that's not a reason why I love it. It's just literally just noticed it. But so there's your answer.
I mean, if you are someone who's thinking about pledging and would want to do this, your best bet is to talk to Miller about it, because he handles all the Patreon stuff and who might be appearing on the podcast.
Simon.miller@videogamer.com.
Yeah.
There you go.
But there are loads of other great benefits you can get from supporting the Patreon.
You pay me some money.
Yeah. You've really sold it there.
Oh my God.
And
I gave you an opening there and everything.
When we do live events, you can come and hang out with us.
You come hang out at live events.
You can see that we're not all terrible arseholes.
We are.
Some of us. Maybe at the start we're all like fine. Like,
I think we are terrible, but like not in the way that people might think.
We're nice people in the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
Later on, outside the pub, terrible people.
Yeah.
All right. At Andrew Fairbairn asks, Kinder Egg or Kinder Bueno?
Bueno. Used to be egg when I was a child. I wanted the toy, but now I want higher quality.
If you're
and
not
more
interested
chocolate.
in the toy, then Bueno. But if it's like a really cool toy, I don't know, like they do a run of mutant turtle figures or something.
No, those days are over. It feels.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just mean for you, Tom. Just in general, it's time to abandon as Alice.
I haven't had a
toy.
Kinder Egg in a long time, so
Did you
I'm
sound
not
like
going to
Kinder
buy
Egg?
one. I'm just saying.
It sounded like the opening of a movie where it's like Titanic, but for Kinder
The
Eggs,
best
where
option,
you're reminiscing.
It's like slow zoom on Tom's face and then his voiceover going, I
They
haven't
didn't
had a Kinder
include
Egg.
the best option is the actual you can get Kinder chocolate bars that are neither Bueno or egg.
Oh, the little mini ones. What are they called?
They're the best thing because they're like an egg, but in like a block. So you can eat them.
Yeah, Dave bought like a bajillion of them as a
he?
Christmas present.
Oh.
Yeah, he bought
Didn't bring any in, did he?
Well, no, they weren't for us.
Oh.
Are they in his secret drawer?
Maybe.
All right, fine. That one seems to have been asked and answered. So the next one, Lucy at Lucy C. Kinch asks, will we be seeing a stream of Miller taking on Dark Souls 3 after it is released? He's doing well on Bloodborne so far.
I suspect he would fight against that notion.
I think it also depends on when we finish Bloodborne.
He keeps saying that he's like, no, I'm going to finish it because people said I couldn't.
The plan is to finish Bloodborne. So, and 2 hours a week isn't a lot. so it could take us a long time to
Yeah,
finish
but
it.
having said that, you're probably further ahead than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't take you very long to get to where you
I mean,
are.
if we can keep making progress, I think
Yeah.
I think I'd like, if it goes well and people are keen, I think yes, we probably could do a Dark Souls stream. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah, well,
let's
there
see.
you go.
Let's see how it goes. Let's see if Miller's got PTSD after. But I can't wait for some of the later bosses. But we'll leave that until then. Tom Bickmore asks,
Because
yeah, all the games are coming to Windows 10, but do you think Halo will ever make the jump?
Yes.
yeah, at some point.
If that's
With
part of their
what's happening,
strategy
with
now,
what they're talking
Yeah.
about now,
it's got to, isn't
it
it?
sounds like almost every Xbox
They'll
game
just keep
is coming
repackaging
to-
it every couple of years for whatever's.
Yeah. I think
happening.
almost certainly in a couple of years at least, everything that is Xbox is just a service, and it will run on all these different things, and everything will run on those devices.
All right. Well, good. Concise. Nice. Okay. Andy Rudrum asks, McDonald's, or kind of states, McDonald's, Burger King, Five Guys, fuck, marry, kill. So,
Okay.
I mean, you have to
Burger
marry
King.
Donald's because it's got the big tasty.
No, see, I think I'd marry Burger King because it's got the bacon double cheeseburger. And then
right. There's
and
literally no accounting for taste here.
Then, oh no! Do you know? Okay, I'd kill Macca's, fuck Burger King, and then marry Five Guys because Five Guys has got that machine with all the sodas in it.
Right.
Doesn't Burger King have that as well?
I've not been to Burger
Doesn't
King.
Burger
has
King
that?
have like a Pepsi machine that does different
Pizza
flavors?
Hut does.
Does it?
Yeah.
I thought
I'm
it
not
was
sure
Burger
about
King.
Burger King.
Harvester has it as well, even though Harvester is shit.
Yeah.
Harvester's great. What are you talking about?
It
They
is
turn
well
up and they
shit.
go, "Have you
Although
been
if
to a
Harvest-
Harvester before?" And then you
And
put
well,
those,
obviously, I know how to eat food. Like,
and then you put like the fake bacon bits on you,
Yeah.
or you can eat
The
salad that other people
salad's not
sneezed
even
in.
that good. It's not even that good.
yeah, that is rubbish.
We went to a Harvester once after my friend had just broken up with his girlfriend. And he was
Mm.
like, "You guys, you have to wingman me because I really fancy that waitress." So whenever she came over the table, we were like, "Lee, where did you park your Ferrari?" Like,
She was like,
"Lee,
yeah.
are you paying for this with your Amex Gold card?"
Well, I mean, yeah. Did it work?
No.
Of course it did. No one's got a gold Amex card. Right. Jonathan Mann asks, how big is Batista's penis? But that bit's almost redacted.
That's for Jim, surely, that question.
So now it's followed up with, what is everyone's favourite SNES game?
I'm too young.
I
Yeah.
never had a SNES, but it was because my cousin had one, Street Fighter 2. But then I got Super Street Fighter Turbo, whatever it was called, Championship Edition on the Mega Drive. The one that
Special Champion Edition.
the one that you had to have buy the 6-button controllers for as well. So I kind of didn't need the SNES.
Yeah, but that version was wank.
It was
wasn't
not wank.
It was right.
It was
Once
not
we step
wank.
out of here, we're gonna have a quick look.
It
and
was
I
fine.
Think the bad nostalgia part.
No,
of
it
your
was
brain-
fine.
It was fine. I didn't have a
It
SNES.
was. It
This
was
was
bad.
like it was at a simpler time
It
when
didn't have any
matter.
colours. We're talking
Yeah,
about.
but I didn't. I was a child. Children probably don't even see colours.
Oh right.
You don't even see like dogs.
Little kids can't even see more than like an inch from their face.
Yeah, but, oh right. Okay.
I
Let's
mean, I was probably about 14 at the time, but
Right. Okay. Favorite SNES game? I had a SNES, but I got it late in the day of the generation. So probably from having played at other people's houses, probably Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Hello, Patreons. We love you all. And this is your extra special part of the podcast. No one has subbed in or out because for the same reason. Jim's dead.
Jim's dead. Miller's busy.
And
Dave's on holiday.
Yeah, there you go. So
Skeleton crew.
exactly.
Yeah.
Best crew though.
Best crew.
Best. So we're going to talk about the X-Files lizard ban. That's what I've been told
Apparently.
in the little
Yeah.
gap that you don't really hear, but I do.
A lot of
'cause-
people are saying that the new X-Files is shit.
the new X-Files. Well, I've only seen 3 episodes of the 6. The first 2, possibly rubbish, but okay because it's X-Files.
Right.
And it's kind of good. It's kind of exciting that it's back, even though you're not sure it's actually good. But episode 3 is actually good. Like, it's a properly
properly
good
good.
episode that is enjoyable. Even I think you could watch it on its own without having to watch any of the rest of it, and it'd still be good. So the difference is that it's a comedy episode essentially.
Oh, okay.
It's got Rhys Darby of Flight of the Conchords.
It's got Rhys Darby in it.
He is the Lizard Man.
Oh, I like Rhys Darby.
I won't go into too many details about what happens because the whole plot and the surprises are cool. But it kind of works in that Mulder and Scully kind of know that the X-Files is a bit stupid now, because it's when the X-Files was a thing years ago, everyone was into conspiracies and aliens and all that kind of stuff, but now most stuff gets proven to be bollocks. And Mulder's having a real downer about the whole thing because, like, what's the point when all of it is like proven to be like a man in a suit and that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
and then along comes Lizard Man, and it's really well written. It's got some, like, Rhys Darby's very funny. There's a whole scene where he's just literally talking to Mulder for a while, and and they're in a graveyard, and nothing much is going on.
They are,
but it is really. He says a lot of funny stuff that actually fits the show and, like, the current, like, the way things are in the world, essentially. And it's a really good episode. I'm pretty sure the next 3 are going to be back to the level of the first 2.
Apparently, they're real bad.
Yeah.
I've not seen them. Have you seen it, Alice?
No, I haven't.
No.
But I think if you can just hunt down this one episode, you'll probably.
Is it just
like
called
it.
Lizard Man?
I've no idea what it's called.
It probably is just
probably
called
is,
Lizard
yeah.
Man.
It's season 10, episode 3, and it's worth watching just to see this episode. You could probably skip the rest of the whole season. I haven't seen half of it. But
Rhys Darby's really good, though.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah.
Did either of you see his Netflix original series? I think it was Netflix original. It's called Short Puppies. Or Tall Puppies, maybe. And it kind of reminded me of the Rob Brydon and Julia Davies thing that was Human Remains, because, like, every episode, Rhys Darby plays a different sort of weird character, New
version
Zealander.
of himself.
Yeah, this documentarian is, like, meeting, like, strange people around New Zealand, and they're all Rhys Darby every episode. But it's really good.
Really?
It's really good.
What's
I really
it
enjoyed it. Short Puppies, I think.
Right. I might try and watch it.
There you go.
Or it's either short puppies or tall puppies, because, you know, it's that saying that's like tall puppies get cut down or whatever.
That's one of those.
Yeah.
You'll be able to work it out. But yeah.
Started to do puppies. There you go.
There you go. With the X-Files, it seems that it's not really panned out the way that they wanted it to.
I don't know what the ratings are like. I've no idea. Like, for whatever reason, on Channel 5 in the UK, which seems
never.
It hasn't become like a phenomenon. I haven't
No.
seen like.
I think that the fact that it was only ever 6 episodes doesn't feel like a proper comeback. It feels like they're going, yeah, we'll do 6.
Seeing how it goes.
Yeah, my social medias haven't been blowing up or anything.
There was a lot of it hype when they announced it was coming back, and then it's kind of faded until first reviews came out and it was like, nah, it's okay. I mean, I didn't think it was as bad as some people said it was, the first 2 episodes, but it's not something that I'm desperate to watch every week by any means.
Well, wasn't the big appeal of the X-Files, again, it's quite clever that they have that thing where everything can be debunked in seconds now. And also there was an ongoing romance mystery angle.
And
that's gone.
Done.
They had their Monster of the Week stuff. You can't really do that in 6 without jeopardizing an arc that you're going for. So if 3, fine. Yeah. But if, 2 and 4 are also, whoa,
as
there's
far
a
as
man
I know,
in a
they've
mask.
literally got episode 1 and 6. I think they're called whatever, part 1, part 2, and they're like a bookended story that fits together, and the rest of them are more like individual.
Them just
things.
fucking around.
I think so.
Them at Five Guys, spooky.
I think it probably does suffer from not having enough room to develop a full series. I was watching Luther recently, a complete sort of tangent.
I was enraged because you said you didn't rate it.
I do really like it. Yeah, I've changed a bit.
There you go.
The problem was I watched Luther going into it. I've seen 3 seasons. I know there's like a small 4th one I haven't seen yet. I went into it thinking, I'm sure I read that it was like really gritty and like dark, which it is dark, but it's not gritty in like a sense of like real. It's quite stupid and ridiculous. It's almost like 24, but like with more Britishness.
Yeah.
So it's not, and there's
With
not
more
as much
cups
of
tea.
The problem I have with it at points is that in season 3 he has like a love interest, and because it's only like 4 episodes long, you get no development of that at all, or her character at all. So you don't give a shit essentially about what's going to happen. And they dropped season 2. They had like he had kind of like a daughter figure who was protecting essentially, and getting her out of her terrible life. And then she just disappeared. Another character disappeared at the start of season 3. They're just not in it anymore. So all that stuff that developed are just gone. And because they're so short, like 4 episodes, I think season 3 was, there wasn't enough room to develop enough. So while the actual story of like the main arc of the actual investigations is really good, a lot of the characters that just come into it for a small time you just don't care about. I think that's the problem with like X-Files. It doesn't have enough time to develop into anything more than just episodes of the week kind of thing.
Right, so you're saying one of the most beloved recent BBC, BBC
I really like it.
Is shite.
No. It's really good.
That's
I
what
think
you just spent like 3 minutes.
I think
I watched
it. Parts of it are like, it is a really good. I really enjoy watching it, and it is very compulsive viewing and tense, and it's like he's brilliant in it. Idris Elba's
amazing.
He's really good, but I think some of it just they miss out on like getting to you more because you don't care. Like, I can't remember her name. I think it's Mary in because Alice. I remember talking to this Alice about
Alice is great. I love Alice.
Who at the time in season 1, when I thought it was like really
Alice
serious,
the psychopath,
really serious and like hardcore, gritty British drama.
I think he's gritty in the sense that he punches people a lot.
It covers really dark things.
It's like
it's not like, but it feels like almost like Sherlock, but for people that like worse atrocities happening. Like it's like Alice.
I need to start watching
this character.
It's
Alice,
good.
He's like his
have you not seen
murderous sidekick. Like it felt really weird because I was thinking, this is just dumb. Why is this kind of almost joke character in this program when it fits and she develops into a much I like her a lot more as it goes on, and they keep her around, which is why she works as a character. But then other people like his actual love interest in series 3, I just did not care because she wasn't in it enough, and there was no development other than that she was just the woman that he crashed his car into, and then suddenly
Is that how they met?
Yeah.
Oh, I think.
Well, I mean, he's Idris Elba. If he crashed his car into my car and I got out, I'd be like, shit. You like a drink, Idris Elba?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
I think the issues I really like Luther, but it's quite tropey sometimes. That there's a lot of like, we're one and the same, Luther, and like
it's like condemned,
and then he'll turn up to his boss and be like, I need to do this incredibly risky thing, and then his boss is like, damn it, Luther, you get results, and then, like, there's all that kind of shit. But you kind of don't mind.
That's from the perspective of the downtrodden boss. I just want to see that show
like,
now.
Having to deal with all the admin and then like go into meetings with his boss. And
it's like, this laptop's just too old. Like, how am I supposed to do any of this?
In this, all the people above him generally are like made out to be massive bastards. They're literally out to hurt and destroy the careers of everyone below them.
Yeah, that's just like
a lot of
having
the time
a job.
It turns out they're not. But like a lot of the time, you're like, well, there's no way he'd be allowed to get away with this. So.
It is. I think it is. It's far more ridiculous than I thought it was. But because he's so good, and they have some really cool, like the actual villains, the actual bad guys are pretty good, and what the ideas they have, what they do is quite cool.
Some of them are proper psychos.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've not seen it.
You should watch it. It's
on Netflix.
How many seasons are there now?
It doesn't really matter because it's so short. Like the whole thing is less than like an American season.
They're seasons in the sense that like some of the seasons are 2 episodes long.
So it's what the Americans would call a mini-series.
I think it might be like 6, 4 and 4 or something like that, and then 2 for the final season.
I'm fine with that. I just finished Breaking Bad, and it's incredible. There's some very cold takes here, but there are so many filler episodes, breather episodes. Like that one that was directed by the chap who's going to direct, is it Rian Johnson? Who's going to direct Star Wars Episode 8, the Fly one. And you're like.
He's done some incredible films, though.
He has, but you think I think that episode got such really good reception because people were watching it; they weren't binge watching it, and it feels like the culture of that has changed. So when you're watching it on television, you're like, okay, I get it. Like we need to establish a bit more of the characters and their interaction. When you're binge watching it, all that's kind of changed now. It's like House of Cards suffers really badly from this in one of the seasons. Underwood goes back to his old college and meets with some of his old buddies, you know, and then they get drunk and they reminisce. You know, like this has got fuck all to do with being the president of the United States.
So much of that was like, why is this episode even in this series?
Breather though, advertising, isn't it?
Well, the Netflix now are releasing things weekly, so like Better Call Saul, the new season of that's coming out weekly rather than
Is it
more.
now?
It
is,
more
yeah.
tied to the fact that in America it's on like a proper station, isn't it? But then Netflix own stuff is usually they just throw it all up at once, don't they?
Yeah.
But then even like that Man in the High Castle, which was the Amazon, I think it was only Amazon, was it? In America, was it just Amazon? I think it was. That, even though that was like people watching it could watch all of it at once, that still suffered terribly from like massive filler. Like, there's so much filler. And they even recognised the fact, I think, that you were probably going to watch it in one go. One episode ended with a man opening a door, and the next episode started with the door opening. It was literally like you could just carry on watching it. That is cheap as
fuck. That's so bad.
It was, and it felt like they kind of knew you were going to watch it like this, but then at the same time padded out with so much crap. It was a bit.
There
weird.
was an amazing, terrible, ill thought out publicity thing they did for the Man in the High Castle, because the Man in the High Castle is based on like we lost the Second World War kind of thing. So Amazon were obviously like, well, let's do the advertising as if like we had lost the Second World War. So great, cool idea, but they didn't then think out the implications of plastering several cars in the the metro trains with like Nazi insignia.
Oh, which was ever get well PR, isn't it? But like, yeah,
which was unfortunate, especially when you consider New York obviously has a large Jewish population.
Yes, indeed. And,
so that was quickly rescinded.
Well, it's no worse than. Well, no, it is a lot worse, but calling your firstborn Churok, does that happen?
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, listen, Tom has got to run, and also this laptop's literally going to die. So literally. So that
wasn't bad. They got X-Files, they got Luther, they got Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, there's a lot of chat there.
It's a good episode for fans of VG Tomo.
Yeah. Exactly. So that is the end of the Patreon exclusive podcast chat. I'd like to say thank you again.
You.
And, if you're listening to this in a bloody dorm room illegally because one of your mates is playing it, pony up some cash.
We expect the money.
Exactly.
None of our fans are like that
age.
I
don't. It felt like I was pitching a weird movie. Yeah. Well, if you're listening to it at your house and your children are listening to it,
a party,
take
put
them
it on
exactly.
the speakers.
Take the money from your children and give it to us. But anyway, don't do that. But maybe do. But thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.